Hello everyone and welcome to a new video. MC-Mura here, and in today's video we are gonna be talking about the day one impression of Rose. How does she feel? What are her apparent strengths and weaknesses and all of that. Obviously it's still very early. This is gonna be like a first impression slash findings. Maybe you will find something that is useful that you didn't know or haven't seen yet, and let's actually share our experiences in regards to this character. Now, the first thing I noticed when I tried out Rose is that her walk speed is actually really slow, and this is very surprising because Rose used to be a really quick character. Think of her as someone like Chun-Li. She was like pretty much in that archetype, but I'm not sure exactly what is the number on her walk speed, but she feels kinda like Poison or Laura or Mika, like in that realm of speeds. Certainly slower than I would have expected, so that is a little bit weird. Now, movement aside or walk speed aside, her dash seems actually kinda nice. The forward dash is kinda short, but it is quick, right? And the back dash is actually really good as well. Seems to be really fast. So her back dash from Street Fighter 4 kinda survived. It is still really good. I noticed also that her normals, the heavy normals, have a lot of range. Like this is her forward heavy kick. Obviously this is a high only, so if your opponent is crouching, this will go over their head. So you can't really spam it like you would normally in the older games. But it is still pretty good, right? Because it's a crush counter, and if it happened to land, you get a dash up combo, right? So that is pretty nice. Another one that is actually really good is the back heavy kick. This move has gigantic range. As you can see from the forward or the round start range, it will hit. The range on it is very big. It is -4 on block, so you kinda have to be careful of that. Let's here have a common node V reversal. It is -4 on block, but as you can see, if you space it right, it is really good. And it goes over lows. If you happen to land it as a crush counter, you don't get that much here. So on a crush counter, you're not really getting that much. You get a dash up Oki. So that is actually really good, right? Like even on back rise you're +3, so it is nice in that regard. And I think it's just a nice neutral tool. However, you have to be careful when you're using it because it does move her forward quite a bit, and there is substantial recovery on whiff, right? I suspect that this is gonna be really whiff punishable, so you kind of have to be careful of it. The other one that I actually think is really good is the standing heavy kick. The thing about standing heavy kick is that it is -2 and it is special cancelable, and it triggers a crush counter, and you can hit confirm that, right? So for example, if we set it to random and we had the counter hit on, right, you can immediately hit confirm into that and don't block, not commit to anything. It is very hit confirmable, so it is an attack that you can just throw out there and try to hit confirm. If it lands, kinda like reuse standing heavy punch, that style of attack, right? So in that regard, it's also really good. So her heavies are fine, and I have to say the standing heavy punch is also fantastic. If you notice, this have a ton of range. Standing heavy punch to fireball is actually quickly starting to become one of my favorite things to do. And as you can see, if you do it like that, it gives her a lot of plus frames. So from this range, it's actually really good. You can cancel into fireball. This is, of course is -5, but if you go for the heavy fireball, it's gonna be alright. You can cancel into the soul punish, right, and then dash up and get an Oki. So it is a normal with a ton of utility. It's kind of like Poison standing heavy punch, but actually a little bit longer, as you can see, right? That's pretty nice. The issues with Rose start with her mediums. First of all, I want to talk about the forward medium kick, because this have gigantic range, right? So this is really nice. But the issue is that it's -6 on block, right? So you are pretty much giving up your turn. Some characters will be able to punish that, so it's not that fantastic. Standing medium kick, this is good for throw baits. So for example, let's say that Akuma got knocked down, or let's say that he is... we hit him with something that's super plus, right? So he's guarding, he got hit with something that's super plus, then you can do standing medium kick, and as you can see, it is throw invulnerable, right? So that is pretty good in that regard. It can be used in certain Oki situations, and it is good in the corner, right? Because for example, in the corner, you can cheese them with stuff like that and then throw them again. You know what I mean? And just keep looping it, right? So it is a good attack, but you know, the issues, in my opinion, is with her mediums, right? Standing medium and crouching medium have very little range. I feel like Rose might have the Lucia syndrome, where her combos are not gonna be that consistent because of the lack of range on her medium confirms. As you can see, the range is kinda very short on these, right? Like you have to be super close to your opponent. You can get a standing medium to the target combo, so that is nice, but you have to be aware that this whiffs on crouching opponents, so you will either combo into light kick spiral, or just medium into medium spiral or drill. But as you can see, it is not that consistent, right? It's gonna have some ranges with the range, and that sucks. And you don't get a combo into crouching medium kick, and the crouching medium kick is actually really good, right? This actually seems really nice. So her mediums are kinda the lights also does not have that much range. As you can see, the standing jab kinda whiffs on crouching opponents. So if you're super close, it will connect, but from some range, it will whiff, right? So that kinda sucks. Standing light kick is also alright, but it's shorter than you would expect. And again, you can combo it into light spiral, but you can get the target combo on crouching opponent, and you will not hit confirm this, right? It's not gonna happen. The jab is also the crouching jab is actually kinda fine, and the chains, she doesn't have a 3 frame, so that is a little bit disappointing, right? So her heavies seem to have good range, mediums, and the lights are I'm suspecting that her punishment might be lacking. The 4 frame punishment or punishing stuff that is -4 will probably be hard for Rose, and that is a bit of an issue, but we will see, right? From my experience, punishing -4 have been kinda difficult. Now let's talk about her special moves and the V skills. The first special move, of course, she have is the fireballs, right? And the fireball is actually really good. You can think of them as that way. The light is like a light punch sonic boom, while the heavy, it has the longest startup, but the travel speed is the fastest. So she can definitely play around with the fireball timing, right? Medium is middle of the road, so you can kinda confuse your opponent. And one really good thing about them is, if you notice, if you do the light fireball, it leaves Rose at a ton of plus frames. So let's here have him stop doing that. As you can see from the mid range, it's leaving her at a plus 17, and this is actually really good, because let's say that Akuma will try to jump, right? You still get to anti-air from further ranges. You still get the anti-air, right? So that is very good. The fireball seems to be really good. It does have a long extended hurt box, but frame data wise and speed wise, it is really good. However, you have to know that if you do a heavy fireball, you will not get to do that, right? Your opponent will be able to land. So just something that you have to be a little bit careful of, right? The fireball traps are weaker with the heavy fireball. It is more intended to catch forward movement. And they flow nicely with her normals, right? Like, because you have a long cancelable normals like the crouching medium kick and the standing heavy punch, cancelling into fireballs is actually really good. And the EX fireball is honestly amazing. It comes out really quick, hits twice, and look at the corner carry, right? It throws the opponent almost full screen away. This is pretty good, because then you can like set up a soul punish. Maybe you want to set up a soul satellite, right? Maybe you will have the other V skill and you throw a card. You can dash up and get Oki, so it's actually really good. It's a really good attack. And of course, it's also very good for V-trigger activation, right? You get to activate V-trigger and combo however you want after. So the X fireball is actually really good. And the uppercut is also really strong as well. All of them are invincible. The light and the medium are the fastest. So if Akuma is jumping at us, all of them have invincibility, right? But you kind of have, they are 7 frame startup, so you'll have to do them relatively early, right? You can't wait until the final frame. It's not like a true DP, it is DP-esque, right? Notice that the range on them is kind of different. The light hits almost above her head, medium is a little bit half middle of the road, and heavy is for like full screen jumps, right? So from a far distance, right? Look at how far you can anti-air with the heavy DP. That's actually really solid. And the Oki on hit is fantastic. If you happen to land this, you dash up and she's plus 10 or plus 14, I believe, the maximum that you can get it. Yeah, you can be plus 14, so that is very powerful. And of course, the EX does grant a wall bounce. So maybe then you can set up a set play here, or maybe you will just combo into the medium spiral and get the OK. So that is, both of them are really nice. And speaking of the soul spiral, they are strictly combo tools and you can use them in the neutral. So for example, you can kind of throw them out in the neutral like that, especially the heavy one, right? Does have some range, could be spaced to be decently safe. However, you kind of have to know that there is a lingering hurt box, right? So for example, right? You can get punished with something like that. If Akuma did like a jab, you can get punished, but as you can see, you can use it as a footsie stool, right? It is a decent footsie stool. It's not that bad. Obviously, -9 from that range. The punishes are gonna differ. And they are really good on knockdowns, and they're very easy to combo into. You'll see that the lights combo into the light. Out of the target combo, you can get a heavy, medium into medium spiral. They give you decent OK on quick rise, right? But on back rise, the OK is non-existent. Like, you're way too far to get anything. But hey, maybe on back rise you can set up a soul punish, right? And then you can get to pressure your opponent after. So that is not bad, right? That's kind of decent. Overall, our general kits seem really interesting. The aerial fireballs, they are weird. I like to use the heavy one because it has the sharper angle. The recovery on the ground seem kinda okay. And one thing I actually found to be really good, let's say for example we had Akuma in the corner, right? Maybe you can do something like this. And even on block, this is gonna give her a ton of plus frames, right? She was plus 12 as you can see. So as you can see, you can actually get like super duper plus frames out of that, right? So that's actually pretty fine to use in the corner like that. Mid screen, this doesn't seem that effective, but it can be used, I guess, right? I'm gonna still have to wait more and see what you can do with this. But it does seem interesting. Like, it does seem like an interesting tool. As you can see, maybe from here dash up and still be at plus frames. So that is not bad. It's like you're kind of bullying your way in, but they are kind of slow. Her V skills are interesting. So far, in my opinion, V skill 1 is kind of lacking. The issue is that the card is random, and if you use one, you are forced to shuffle. So for example, the effect of the card itself, it lasts about 10 seconds, right? It lasts 600 frames, which is around 10 seconds. That is not that long. And once you use it, it is forced to shuffle, and you may not get the cards that you want, right? So you can keep shuffling. Like here, for example, I want the green one, right? See how much I'm shuffling, and I'm not getting the green one. That is kind of... See, after all of that, I finally got the green. So that is kind of disappointing. It does seem like it's alright, but it does seem like it also have a bit of a random factor to it that I'm not a big fan of, right? And I haven't felt the difference that much, to be honest. I guess the damage one will give you like decent damage output. Like, there is some substantial difference there, but again, it doesn't seem to be very reliable. The soul satellites, they seem a little bit better for me so far. Especially since you have a lot of attacks that actually knock down, right? Like, setting it up after a fireball is very easy, and then you can at least slide, or maybe after like a wall bounce. Right, you can set up a soul satellite here. Obviously, your opponent can quick rise here, so it's not optimal. But after the EX fireball is where I found it to be the most convenient, right? Especially at this distance, you can usually get 2 of them, then maybe slide and you can get good damage. I forgot to talk about the slide. Slide is actually really good because maximum space slide can be +5, so you get a crouching medium. That is really good, right? I mean, it can lead to some good stuff like that, and with the satellite, it is easier to get some conversions. The one thing about the satellites is that I feel like they orbit around Rose at a bit of a further distance, so they do seem to be better suited for aggression than they are as shields, right? So for example, if Akuma here, if we set Akuma to jump, right? It does feel like, at least for me, it is easier to hit Rose out of them than it was in the previous games, right? Just because of their orbit. But maybe that's just me, but obviously they are a really good V-skill, right? They can't allow you to bully your way in, and that can't be bad at all. The V-triggers are, they are a different story. I really am taking a liking to V-trigger 1. V-trigger 1, in my opinion, is actually really solid. What I've noticed is that for V-trigger 1, you can't special cancel into the V-trigger from a normal. So you can't like do a medium punch into teleport or heavy punch into teleport. You have to do it out of special. But that's fine because it allows Rose to do many things. Like let's say for example I have activated. Let's for example say that we are cornered, right? I got cornered, Akuma is pressuring me in the corner. I did like a crouching medium kick, V-trigger activate, right? I can do something now like crouching medium punch into EX fireball. And now I switch the corner, or maybe even just drill, and now you switch the corner. So you get a corner side switch, and that is very powerful. If you play Street Fighter, you know how powerful this is, right? You can get a conversion like that if you want. You can even get the aerial version into a heavy kick, into the spiral, so that is nice. So overall, she does get a benefit of side switch. The mix-up of fireball to teleport, this is alright, but it's better for bullying into plus frame than it is as a mix-up, because Rose will always appear behind her opponent, right? So your opponent can just jump forward. I found the air one to be a little bit better, because it is harder for your opponent to jump forward out of the air one, right? But that is still alright. This use, I suspect that this is gonna get a little bit weaker over time, but at least having the ability to escape the corner is actually really good. Another thing about these V-triggers that I've been finding to be amazing is the fact that it actually allows Rose to wake up with a DP-esque. One thing that is very surprising when I tried out Rose was that her EX Soul Spiral is actually projectile and strike invincible from frame 1, right? So as you can see, if Akuma is jumping on us with an attack, let's bring it back to mid-screen. As you can see, it's straight out beating his jumping heavy punch. It is actually strike and throw invincible, right? So that is very powerful. One of the things that I absolutely love about this V-trigger, let's here have, for example, Akuma try to block, and then maybe he'll try to throw us, right? So you can kinda like wake up, let's say that you got knocked down, you can wake up with an EX spiral, and then back escape, right? And it is hard for him to punish that, especially like at a distance. Yes, like Rose is plus substantial, but she moves back almost full screen. So that's actually as a wake up option, especially if you're mid screen, it's actually a really good wake up option. Obviously, if you teleport behind them, you can get thrown here, but using it defensively to wake up and back off is actually really good. Something I've been finding to be really nice, and it's gonna be obnoxious for your opponent. So overall, I do find this V-trigger to be quite useful. Again, you can also lead to high damage combos if you have it. Maybe you will do something like this, right? That's like 370 damage mid-screen, so that is really good. The V-trigger 2, I'm a little bit disappointed by, in all honesty. It is really good, I think it's actually really good, but the timer runs out extremely quickly. Let's say, for example, that Akuma is blocking everything, right? Notice how quickly the timer is ticking. And let's say, again, Akuma's blocking everything. Like, yeah, you can have some plus frames here and bully Akuma with plus frames. But again, if your opponent just decide to V-reversal, this is pretty much the entirety of that is dead, right? So she's like that stuff is very prone to V-reversal. Your opponent can just V-reversal and, you know, it is gone. Maybe you can actually, your opponent is not gonna V-reversal, but they're gonna, you know, they're not gonna quick rise, right? So you do stuff like that, you got the throw, they're not quick rising, and the V-trigger pretty much ended. As you can see, if they don't quick rise, the V-trigger kinda ends. So you get like a guaranteed throw, but the V-trigger ended, right? So it is kinda lacking in that regards. From my experience, the best use to this V-trigger is in punish situations. So let's say that, because in punish situations you can actually do a lot of damage. So let's say that we're gonna do something and Akuma's gonna DP, right? Then you can actually get an activation like that, right? And that can lead to a ton of damage, as you can see. So it's like, as a punish, it's actually really good. You can also use it for some damaging anti-airs. Like let's say, for example, Akuma's gonna jump on us, right? Right, so you can use it to anti-air, something like that. You can use it for DP punishes, but using it for pressure and using it for in the neutral, I haven't found to be that successful, at least from my experience. Also, even if you manage to land the combo, for example, the damage scaling is kind of hard. As you can see, you're not getting that much. So maybe it's really good like damage V-trigger for punishes and anti-airs. But I don't know, it's still early. Maybe we will see some wicked resets and stuff like that. The Soul Punish is a very interesting tool. It have a lot of utility, especially in the corner. Say you can set a situation like that. So let's say I have Akuma try to wake up, and he's gonna try to block and try to throw break, right? So maybe here we can do something like I'm gonna do now, right? And you kinda guarantee to continue with pressure. I can see it having a lot of okay situations and stuff like that, right? It will allow Rose to sustain some turns. Maybe if your opponent is just blocking and is not trying to guard, you can use the EX Soul Punish to kinda dash in and maintain your turn. Think of it as a Rashid EX Whirlwind Shot. And that's pretty much what I have on Rose so far. Let me know if you actually have found something new or exciting. What are your experiences with the character so far? She certainly seems interesting. And I do think I will be playing this character. I'm having so much fun with her. There are some issues, and obviously we have expected that she will have some issues, but you know, the walk speed and the stubbiness on her medium confirms is actually weirder than I expected. If you have enjoyed this video, please leave a like or a comment. It helps the channel so much. I will be leaving a link to the Patreon page and the Discord page in the description below. Thank you very much for watching and stay safe.